Welcome to the Cougar Cast here at the Kokomo Post Sports. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, and this is a place to get all the information on what's going on inside the athletic department at IU Kokomo. And joining us like he does almost every week is my guy, Grant Patterson. He is the SID at IUK. And Grant, I'm glad to have you back here after a long trip to Ohio.
Yeah, a long trip to say the least. Dealt with multiple different types of weather delays, whether that be hail on the final day. I don't know if you saw the picture, Jay, on social media, but my goodness, it looked like it was snowing. Plenty of rain and lightning delays, honestly, mostly lightning delays, which are even more frustrating considering it may not even be raining and you have to stop play because of the lightning. So it's not ideal to say the least. But yeah, the baseball team made it through. Sadly, completed their season a few games below 500, but it was a season full of trials and tribulations, whether that be plenty of injuries and just a variety of different occasions. So super proud of this team for what they have accomplished. Although they definitely came up short of their goal of winning the conference title, this is no longer a two-bid league. So the only way we were making it to the NAIA national tournament was if we were winning the conference tournament. So it was a big week, but yeah, plenty of things to build on for the future.
There definitely are, and even seeing the performances from the baseball team at the conference tournament with scoring 21 runs in one game and then another one scoring 13, the season got off to a different start than normal.
Yeah.
And then being able to weather some of the storms in the middle of the season, have a tough gauntlet in the non-conference.
To say the least, yeah.
And then to do this here at this point of the season, I know your season's over, but these young men should have a lot to hang their hat on and say, yeah, we had a rough year, but we ended it the best way we could.
Yeah, still plenty to be proud of. As you mentioned, just an absolute gauntlet of a non-conference slate, playing high-level opponents week in and week out for the first 4 weekends of the season. Trips to Louisiana for the Cajun Collision, battling UNOH. It seems like every year at this point. Freed Hardeman's no slouch, a 4-game set at Cumberland to open the season, and a storied program like they're ran by the Hunt family. It was a tough non-conference to say the least. Tough start to conference play as well when you start out playing IU Southeast, Shawnee State, and Oakland City, all within the first month of the conference slate. So those are the three, ended up being the top 3 seeds in the River States Conference, with us being 4th. So to start conference that way after a tough non-conference didn't make it any easier. But eventually the team got rolling, got the train on the tracks, and really started well last weekend. The last Thursday, they swept Midway on the road during the season. We're 3-0. 3-0 after that sweep of Midway, and then they go back and win Thursday against Midway in the opening round of the conference championship in dominant fashion. Yes, it was only 11-11 going into the 8th inning, but the 8th inning, we scored 10 runs to make it a run rule victory, which is something you do not see often. So that was pretty impressive to watch. A couple of crazy statistical things happened throughout this week, pretty insane. But yeah, you run into an Oakland City squad in game 2 that puts you into the losers bracket, which Oakland City was an absolute buzzsaw this year. I've really been impressed with Andy Lasher. He's been there since COVID, Oakland City's head coach, and he's turned them into, honestly, a monster in the River States Conference. They're ranked now for probably the first time in a long time, ranked 25th. Even if they didn't win the conference tournament as they did yesterday, or Monday of this week, man, I still think they would have gotten an at-large berth, I should say. But yeah, we take care of business against a Brescia squad in the first game, in the first elimination game of ours on the week. This is a Brescia team that took 2 of 3 from us on our home field earlier this year, and to bounce back and just absolutely dominate them. A game that actually took 16 hours total game time, considering it was delayed after only 59 minutes of play. It was delayed for 14 hours, and then we played another hour and 5 minutes to run rule them in 7 innings, 13-3. And that set us up against this tough Eagle squad once again. Luther Bramblett does a great job leading that group. And man, of any team it's always tough to beat a team 4 or 5 times. Well, we were going for 5 straight wins against them this season. And Luther just runs a program where it's so hard-nosed and it's such a gritty team that I knew it was going to be extremely difficult to take care of business, and they proved to do exactly that. Cohenberry turned in a dominant outing on the mound for IU Kokomo, 6 scoreless frames, local product from Northwestern. But they got to him in the 7th for 2 runs, a home run off the left field foul pole, and that gave them the lead for good. They ended up winning 5-2, I think, or 5-3. So tough loss for us to bow out of the River States Conference tournament. But this is a Midway squad who ended up beating Shawnee State on Monday to go to the conference championship game, where they ultimately ran into the buzzsaw that is the Mighty Oaks of Oakland City. But yeah, it just goes to show. 4th place finish very easily could have been 2nd, because this is a Midway team that we essentially dominated for most of the year.
Not only did baseball just finish their season, but track and field had the opportunity to go to Ohio State recently, the Jesse Owens Classic, and multiple Cougars performed very well, and one of them punched their ticket to the outdoor national meet.
Yeah, awesome to see. Gabe Wedmore is the one we were talking about who punched his ticket to the NAIA Outdoor Nationals in hammer throw with the B standard Saturday. This is a guy who can't compete in shot put this spring due to an injury. So that was his event that he qualified for nationals in and indoors. So obviously bummed out that he couldn't be competing there, considering he is an upperclassman. He'll only have 1 year left next year. But man, he finishes 10th against, I'm sure, high-level competition, considering we were competing in the Jesse Owens Classic. I think is so cool. Evan Gaylor finished 16th, a few meters behind him in the hammer throw. And then Sydney Duncan. I mean, she competed in multiple events, but one to write home about is finishing 5th in discus against, we already know she's one of the best female throwers in the nation, regardless of division, whether that be NAI, NCAA, whatever, NCCAA. Doesn't matter. She's simply one of the best collegiate female athletes there is in the nation. And she proved that on another scale. Overall, this is really just a time they'll be back in action at IU this weekend, really just giving those student athletes who are really close to punching their ticket to nationals or ones who already have punched their ticket just a chance to stay warm, stay competitive, because nationals are still about 2.5 weeks away.
It's crazy. I thought it was next week, and I looked at the schedule, and I realized, no, there's another meet at IU before the outdoor national meet. But the good thing is it's right around the corner. They don't have to leave the state at all.
Correct.
For the next 2 meets, with nationals being at Marion and Iwu there. Beautiful facility. I would encourage everybody to get out there and try to go if you can to watch Gabe and Sydney, and I believe Maddie Dowlich is the other one that's qualified for that meet. Try and get out there to go, get away a little bit, go to Marion. It's a nice area, nice part of the state, and great facilities to go to and watch some good high-level track and field events.
Yeah, and there could be more competitors still earning their ticket in, whether that be, as we just mentioned, with an A or B standard, but also if there's not a certain number of student athletes qualified via the A or B standard, then they go to the quickest times in the nation that aren't NAIA A or B standards. So I think they do that to fill like the top 20 or so.
Yeah.
Hannah Wells was fortunate enough last year to make it in the steeplechase via that route. So she is one that won the River States Conference steeplechase, so she may be at the top of that list of non-qualifiers. So be interested to see how that pans out. But either way, we know of at least 3 so far, with at least one more weekend of competition for student athletes to still punch tickets.
I believe men's golf was the last one to complete their conference tournament.
Yeah.
I know baseball just ended theirs. Track and fields was, I believe, a week ago.
Correct.
And then men's golf was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of this week. I don't know where they were competing at, though, but I know that they're in the midst of that right now.
Yeah, just like the women, they're competing in Daniels, West Virginia, Glade Springs Golf Resort. Pretty much, it's West Virginia Tech's home course. Bit of an advantage for them, if you ask me. But it's a beautiful complex. I think the student athletes all get to stay on campus, essentially, like at the resort. Pickleball access, food access, stuff like that. They don't really need to leave campus all that much if they don't want to. So yeah, I think they started off pretty strong. I know on Sunday when I was watching, I was still at conference tournament for baseball. They were 8th of 9 teams for a while and not ideal. But by the end of that day, I think they ended up in 4th after round 1. Dropped back to 5th after Monday's round 2. And last time I checked, they were in 6th. And it looked like they were going to finish in 6th. So honestly, the most impressive part, Jay, is they were led by freshman Lucas Miller, who's really turned it on. Turned it on down the stretch. He goes turned in an even par 72 to help the Cougars win their home tournament, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, by 1 stroke over rival IU East. Last time I checked, IU East was beating us by 19 strokes. So we know what we're capable of and stuff. Just didn't really piece it together these final 2 days, it seems. But yeah, Lucas led the squad. I can't remember exactly where he is. I think he's just outside a top 10 finish. And then Oliver Geralds and Hayden Williamson. I believe it went Hayden Williamson, Oliver Geralds, Luke Watson, and Cole Collins down the leaderboard. But those are 5 guys who all will return next year, barring any transfers or anything like that. Really young squad. We lose Ryder Jones, who's has been a big piece of our program, but he's not competing this week. And these 5 guys are gaining valuable experience to put towards the future.
Did we miss anything?
I don't think so, Jay, but there's always the case. But we really are winding down. Golf, no team is transferring out to nationals. No individuals are going to be able to transfer out by earning individual medalist honors. So really, it's just that time of year where we're down to track national championships once they compete this weekend at Indiana University, kind of our mothership, if you will.
I love having Grant on the show. He's full of knowledge. I don't know how he remembers everything in his brain. For a guy that has a bad memory, he knows how to keep those numbers in the right spot to pull them out whatever he needs to. He is the SID at IUK. And guys, this has been the Cougar Cast. We'll see you next time.